Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different in honor of 9/11. What is it, the 24th anniversary
24th anniversary this year.
Can you believe it's been that long?
Yeah, it's mind-blowing how fast time has flown.
In a way, it feels shorter than that, but in a way it feels like it was like a lifetime ago at the same time.
It's amazing how that day completely changed much.
Nothing has been the same since.
No, it hasn't. Like, everything changed.
Yeah. Last year on the channel, we looked at the UK's tribute for 9/11.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
It was very beautiful. But in the comments of that video, we learned that there were how many UK victims of 9/11?
I don't recall seeing how many victims were in the comment section.
Right. But we learned that there were quite a number.
Yes, I recently looked and there were 67 British victims. In fact, you know, this is something that I think not many people have really stopped to think about. How many people died in 9/11 that died on foreign soil?
Yeah.
It turns out there were dozens of countries that had people, citizens
from there.
Yeah, because they were visiting, they were working in the World Trade Center or whatnot.
Which makes sense.
It does make sense.
But growing up, you know, it was from the American perspective, which, you know, I think it's because I was so much younger. Maybe if I had been older, I might have known more of the details of who it was.
Generally speaking, when you look at some tragedy like this, you usually look at it from the standpoint of
where it happened,
the entirety and what happened. You remember the victims as a whole. You don't really stop to think about they were from so many different areas. But it turns out there are about 5 countries that had more than a dozen victims from those countries. But Britain was the country that lost the most people.
Outside of the U.S., yeah.
Yes. In fact, I think this technically is the largest attack on British people in modern history as well, because they lost 67 people on 9/11.
So we just wanted to honor them today and take a look at more of the story and learn more about it.
Every year I take a little bit of time and I think back on that day. Sometimes I'll watch videos. Last year, as you know, we took a look at how the UK paid tribute. The Queen actually did something that she broke protocol for the first time in like 600 years. I remember that, by playing the American national anthem as a tribute. And then we watched the original tribute, and then we saw the 20th anniversary, saw some stuff about that. It's absolutely amazing. If you haven't checked out that video, please consider going and doing so. It's here on the channel. But we thought it would be interesting and about time that we actually learned a little bit about the British side of things, the British victims, if you will. And so we have a few different video clips we're going to check out just to kind of, you know, just
get a better understanding.
From the British perspective and British side of things. But I also, at the end, after we get done with these few video clips, I want to look at a list of the names, the 67 British citizens that lost their lives on 9/11, and just kind of, you know,
a moment of recognition for them.
Yes.
Honor for them.
Guys, enough rambling. Let's go ahead and jump in here and check out the first video, which is London paying tribute to the victims. And in this case, from what I understand, I believe this is them mainly paying tribute to the British victims. I believe it's a very short clip because most of these clips are short. I wasn't really able to find anything that was like a long thing. So that's why we're going to look at a few different clips. Also want to say the last clip we're going to check out before we check out the list of names is actually a survivor and how she talks about, she goes and teaches London school children about what happened that day to her.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see that one.
So anyways, guys, enough rambling. Let's go and jump in here and check out London pays tribute to the victims.
Yes, here too, services have been held to remember those who died in the events of 9/11. The Prince of Wales and the Prime Minister joined relatives of the 67 British victims at a ceremony in London's Grosvenor Square. Carl Dinnan reports.
The Queen sent a message to New York after 9/11. It included words now inscribed on the London Memorial. grief is the price we pay for love. Gathered here were some of the British families who have paid it in full. They were joined by Prince Charles and Camilla, the Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister and London Mayor.
I find there are many of us who are not only tired of the perpetual killing, maiming and senseless terrorism that blights the human family, but bewildered by it too, simply because our instinct tells us that seeking revenge never actually achieves peace in the end. It is surely only by avoiding vengefulness that we can rebuild what has been lost.
Then the emotion of the occasion brimmed over as the families laid a white rose for each victim and their names were read out.
Our beloved son, Vincent Wells, and our dear friend, Simon James Turner.
Our son and Vicky's husband, Stephen Lorne.
To our darling daughter, Melanie Louise de Vere. God bless you, darling.
Wow.
Oh, man.
As well as the event at the Garden of Remembrance here in Grosvenor Square, there have also been services today at the Grosvenor Chapel, right by the American Embassy here, and at St Paul's Cathedral. The Guard of Honour formed by representatives of British fire brigades. Relatives of the victims were amongst 2,000 people who gathered.
Wow.
Who gathered to remember.
At the dawn of day and in the setting sun.
Wow.
That was a beautiful tribute to them. I wonder, do they do that every year? Like meet there and have a memorial service, basically?
I don't know. You know, this is kind of the first time I knew it had affected so many British families. You know, when you think about it, 67, and when you think about all the parents, grandparents, siblings, cousins, I mean, that is a
the ripple effect of
right.
all the people it touches.
Yeah, and just in general, you know what I mean? It's mind blowing to me.
I think seeing the roses laid individually like that really drives home how many is 67 people, you know? Like you can see the number, but to actually have it represented is just...
I mean, when we look at it compared to, you know, 67 compared to like 2,700 or whatever the total number is, it doesn't seem like that much. But when you take 67 and you compare it to any other major event, any other attack, it's huge. If we were to hear about an attack where there were 67 victims today, that's massive. That's huge. And so, like...
It kind of gets lost in the big number, but when you think about it, separately, it's very shocking.
Yeah, it really is.
I happened to be in a store which had a television. I actually saw something happening on the screen as I went in. Gosh, my son's in New York. I hope he's nowhere near that. I mean, literally, because I didn't know.
Wow.
And so then I came home, and then the world ended for me.
Joy's son was just 29
when
he was killed.
That's awful.
Ollie Bennett had arrived at a morning conference at the World Trade Center on the 11th of September 2001, but he never left.
It's extraordinary. I mean, it's such a long time, in years, that it's almost unbelievable, but it doesn't feel like that for me. It literally feels like yesterday. We've missed so much of what he might have been.
24 years.
Of any connection with him anymore, ever. That's death, isn't it? If people say, how many children have you got? I'm not going to say I had one child. I have 2 children. But then you have to say the next bit. And it's so shocking that you shock the other person. So it's very difficult. And that's like every day of my life.
Ollie was one of 67 British people who died that day. There were others who managed to get out. Janice Brooks moved from London to New York just 3 weeks before the planes hit.
Wow.
She was starting her dream job.
All we did was go to work, complete innocent in all of this, and to lose 61 people. That's why I do this. And this isn't about me. It's about trying to honour the day, remember the day, and remember my friends.
On this 20th anniversary of 9/11, the families of the British victims will gather in private. But events of the last month in Afghanistan have brought anger for many.
There's been a lot of change, a lot of political shift, but especially with what's happened in the last 4 weeks, are we in a safer world from events that happened that day?
No, I don't. I personally don't think we are at all. And you know, by what we've done in this last 3 or 4 weeks, I mean, you know, other people might not think that's very clever, and I think the world is not in a safe place.
I can't even imagine what that must have been like.
And then, like she said, every time now when she's asked how many kids she has, yeah, she's right. You're not going to just erase the fact that you have another child, but it's like, then you've got to explain the next part, and that'll be really hard.
I don't think there's anything else in life that is harder than that, than losing a child. You know, I find it interesting to think about where people were when they heard this. This is, I mean, like, out of everything in my life, it's really interesting that every event in my life, there are some events I can kind of remember, like, when something happened, I kind of remember a little bit where I was. But 9/11, when that happened, I remember the morning 24 years later as vividly as it's just happening.
Well, it's a traumatic imprint in your psyche, you know.
But isn't it interesting? Like, we've had other traumatic events happen in the past 24 years, but
not on that scale.
Yeah, you're right. This scale is what made it so impressive on your mind and your memory.
And I think for Americans, that was the first time.
Our innocence.
Like it was that much more traumatic because nothing like that. We had never experienced anything like
it did, I think, for a whole lot of us. I think for the country as a whole. And honestly, it wasn't even, I think it broke our innocence in a big way. Yeah. But I think it wasn't just us. I think a lot of the Western world felt that. And I know in the UK, a lot of people felt that same breaking of innocence. Even though the UK is going through a lot of other stuff in terms of on their homeland and World War II and whatnot, I still think there was some level of innocence that got broken worldwide.
Yeah, probably.
We didn't, I think that day, for so many of us, it just awakened us to a horror we never even comprehended was possible. Yeah. And thankfully, we haven't seen that level in the Western world since then. Not to that level. We've seen things happen. But something I never thought about as obvious, but it was like the early afternoon in the UK when they heard about this. Think about it. Their day was already over.
Yeah, it was
for us,
early morning.
Yeah, for us, our day was just starting.
Thing.
Yeah.
I think I remember it so well because I was at school and we had just, like you said, started our day. I was in my first period class, and it was math, and I just remember the biology teacher came running into our classroom and flung the door open and was like, "You got to turn on the TV. A plane just crashed in the World Trade Center or something." So yeah, all of our classroom TVs got turned on, which I don't know how smart that was now looking back, because then we saw live the second one happen. Yeah. And that just made it that much worse.
But
that
you're making a good point though, because they turned it on because everybody was still feeling innocent in a way. The innocence hadn't been lost even with that first plane, because they had no idea what to expect.
Like, surely there can't be more.
Right. Yeah. They had no reason to think there was going to be more.
For so many families, there is no grave, no headstone, just a name on a plaque. For the British victims, the plaque is in Grosvenor Square, London. Godwin Ford was a security guard in the South Tower. His daughter had just joined him in New York. After years apart, his son was about to.
Wow.
Just to be reunited with him after a long period of time, you can only be ecstatic about it.
You must have had a lot of plans for your own life that have been taken away from you by this.
Yeah, I was angry for a long time. Still to this day it hurts.
Anniversaries are hard.
You can't prepare for it, you just kind of deal with it how you deal with it on that particular year, and however much it kind of decides to hurt more or less or the same.
At the Olympic Park, another memorial.
Oh, yeah.
Pieces of wreckage to have left.
You remember that?
States. Here, there was a service for those who survived.
And if I can be really indulgent, can I please ask that you spare a thought for all the survivors? Because we're still struggling.
And those who did not. Michael Egan from Hull was in the South Tower.
My mother was able to receive a call from my dad that day, and he called her and said, "I'm not making it out. Kiss the boys. I love you. We've tried to get to the roof, but we can't." And shortly after, my mom was on the phone. While she was on the phone with him, the building collapsed.
Oh my
God! The Queen
gosh.
sent a message saying, "My thoughts and prayers and those of my family and the entire nation remain with the victims, survivors, and families affected."
Yeah, that's what we saw last
And the
time.
Welsh
wasn't it?
Guards made the Star-Spangled Banner at Windsor Castle. Carl Dinnan, ITV News.
Oh man.
I can't even imagine both sides of that calling, knowing this is the last time you're saying goodbye to your family from inside the tower. You can't make it out.
Yeah.
Like the horror of that. For me, the horror of that wouldn't so much be the actual what's going on with me. It would be the fact, for me, I'm leaving my young daughter. Like that would be what I'd be thinking about. I'd be leaving you.
Yeah.
That would be the hardest part. And to be on the phone when that happened, I literally can't even imagine. Like, how horrifying.
And what she was saying in part of her speech about keep the survivors in your thoughts and prayers, that is something that I personally don't think much of, I think, there's almost 3,000 that died. Surely there can't be.
Yeah, you don't think of the survivors as much. I know.
Who got out, but that's something I would like to look more into and keep in my mind, because I can't imagine the guilt that they probably feel, like the survivor's guilt thing, just how hard that would be.
Yeah. And I think there is something extra hard if your family member dies in a different country. You're so far away when it happens. And there's something about that just adds to it.
And especially in the scenario where there's no body to recover.
Yes.
Or you can't have a grave for them or an actual
you have a plaque.
Service. I mean, you can
have a service, but
honor them, but it's not the same as actually being able to bring them home. And
with that, I mean, when you don't have a body, I feel like there's probably some level of non-closure. Yeah. But you don't remember this, that they actually had a piece?
I don't remember that. It was a part of the wreckage?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
It's important to tell the story. It's important regardless of how I feel about it. If I can feel uncomfortable for an hour, but spark an interest in one of these young people, I'd be so happy. Right now I'm ever so nervous, and when I get nervous my voice goes very high. So I'll do my best to try and keep it down, and I think once I start talking I usually kind of recover. I was up early, been running, I used to run back then, and what happened was I left for the office At about 7:20, was in the office by 7:30, 84th floor of 2 World Trade. Faxes,
84th floor.
figures, working away like crazy. I was the only one in the office at that time because it was normally early, everyone comes in at 9. Our office was on the corner and it looked down on the Statue of Liberty in the harbour. And suddenly there was a bang, and that's how I fell. I weren't thrown to the floor, it was just a stumble. Black, completely black. Dust, grit, dirt, the ceiling fell down, the grid on the ceiling fell down, crunching sounds, banging sounds, and then stillness. We forget at our peril what happened on that day. So if by me coming here and talking to you just ignites a spark in one of you, then my job is done.
I wasn't born when it happened, but my knowledge is very limited.
So I was 3 months old when it happened. I was born in August, so literally about a month and a couple of days before September 11th.
To have such a personal and detailed description of the event has really touched me.
And the fact that her whole course got changed through just one moment in which she never saw coming, I mean, no one at that time ever saw coming, is what made it very real for, I feel, everyone that heard it.
Can I ask that you spare a thought for the survivors? Because we're still struggling. Thank you.
Wow.
I mean, I knew this was going to be a heavy video,
Yeah.
but it just...
She has definitely a powerful testimony,
Yeah.
to say the least. I mean, I wonder if this is healing for her, or if bringing it back. I would think it would be healing.
Having to relive it.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's hard. It really is hard to put myself in that situation. I try to when I come across people that have survived something like this, and I'm thinking about it. I try to put myself in that situation and how would I feel if I survived that? I came through that. I lived through that. What would that feel like to me? And I have a hard time even comprehending. Was she in the first tower or the second tower?
Oh, I forget what she said. I think second.
Okay.
I know she was on the 84th floor is what she said in the corner.
That's something I don't even know. I don't even know how many people actually survived 9/11.
I know.
Wow. Do you know how many people were in the World Trade Center complex when the attacks happened? 17,400 people.
Are you serious?
That is insane.
I had no idea it was that many.
Total victims, total killed, were 2,977.
When you think about the sheer number of people that were in those buildings, I guess it's a miracle that not more were killed.
Yeah, it is. But that 2,977 was for the total. There was 2,753 in the World Trade Center. There was 184 at the Pentagon. There was 246 on the flights themselves.
Yeah, that's true. There were multiple other things that happened. And then the first responders who were going in to rescue people. Yeah.
Around 15,000 survived who were in or near the Twin Towers that morning. All right, guys, so we have one more thing we want to do on this video, and that is we want to remember the 67 Brits that died on 9/11. We want to look at their names. This list actually has the age and a little bit more information about some of them. Some of them is just the name,
Thought it would be a good way to honor and remember them.
Yes. So this is a list of the 67 British victims and 16 foreign nationals with close UK ties. Sounds like there are more than 67 victims that are actually some way associated or tied to the UK. Sarah Ollie, 35, from Balham, southwest London, was at a conference on the 106th floor of the North Tower of the World Trade Center.
Andrew Joseph Bailey, 29, married with an 8-year-old daughter, was originally from Birmingham. He worked as a security supervisor for insurance brokers Marsh and McClellan on the 93rd floor of the North Tower and lived and worked in New York.
Michelle Beale, 37, a director with London-based Risk Waters, was attending a conference at the World Trade Center in New York on September My goodness, man. That's something else. Like
people who didn't actually work there, who were just there for the day.
They're just visiting for the day.
Man. Jane Beatty.
Oliver Bennett, 29, was a journalist with Risk Waters Publishers.
Graham Berkeley, 37, an IT consultant whose parents live in Shrewsbury, was on board the United Airlines flight, which plunged into the World Trade Center's South Tower.
Yeah, that's like...
That's a part that I had kind of forgotten.
You forget about that because you focus on the towers themselves, and you forget about there were hundreds of victims on the planes themselves. I mean, it
just doesn't even seem possible.
It doesn't. It's so... It just... Yeah, I agree. It doesn't seem possible. Paul Gary Bristow, 27, a publisher for Risk Waters Group, was at a seminar in the Windows on the World restaurant on the 106th floor.
Jeffrey Thomas Campbell, 31, a Reuters employee from Great Billing, Northamptonshire, who had been due to take part in a conference hosted by English publishing company Risk Waters Group in the World Trade Center.
Jeremy Mark Carrington, 34, worked for Cantor Fitzgerald on the 105th floor of the World Trade Center's North Tower. Brought up in Essex, he moved to New York 12 years ago, where he met his wife, Patty. Jeremy had survived the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. Wow. His mother, Catherine Ross, lives in Gillingham, Dorset.
Wow. 1993? I don't remember that.
You don't remember that? That was the first time, yeah.
Soraya Clark, 30, was working in the towers. Her brother Tom is from London.
Neil James Cudmore, 38, worked in the advertising department of a financial journal. He was believed to have been planning to marry colleague and fellow victim Dina Webster.
Oh my goodness. Michael Joseph Cunningham, 39, originally from Ilford, Essex, was a broker for Eurobrokers in the South Tower. He lived in Princeton, New Jersey with his wife Teresa, 35. His son Liam was 13 days old when the jets hit the World Trade Center.
Gavin Anthony Cushney, 48, of the Isle of Lewis in the Outer Hebrides. He was working as a computer consultant for Cantor Fitzgerald on 104th floor of the North Tower.
Caleb Aaron Dack.
Anthony Richard Dawson of Southampton had been attending a convention in one of the towers when the second plane struck.
Calvin Dawson.
Kevin Dennis, 43, a stockbroker who lived in St. John's Wood, North London, before he moved to New York to work for Cantor Fitzgerald. He had been on the 101st floor of the North Tower of the World Trade Center.
Melanie Louise DeVere, the 30-year-old publishing assistant with Risk Waters, grew up in Hayling Island, Hants, before moving to London.
Richard Anthony Dunstan.
Michael Egan. Oh, we just learned about him, didn't we?
Yeah.
He was one of the ones mentioned. 51. The Holborn vice president of multinational insurance company AON is believed to have died as he helped colleagues escape from the South Tower. Wasn't he the one who had called his wife?
I believe
and we
so.
heard from his son in the video.
I think so.
Man.
So he died helping others. Christine Egan, 55, a nurse working in Canada, was visiting her brother's office while on a week-long holiday in New York.
Do you think she was related to Michael? I mean, do you think? Oh my goodness, she was just visiting him.
Oh, wow. I mean, what are the odds?
Name. Yeah, like...
And visiting her brother.
And they're both Brits, so, I mean, the likelihood...
Oh, that's very possible.
Robert Eaton, 37, a Cantor Fitzgerald broker, believed to have been working on the 105th floor of the North Tower.
Godwin Ford, 38, a security guard for Morgan Stanley, was at work on the 42nd floor of the South Tower.
Christopher Forsyth.
Boyd Gatton.
Andrew Clive Gilbert, in his 30s, originally from Ipswich, worked at the World Trade Center.
Timothy Paul Gilbert, like his brother Andrew, was also in his 30s and working in the World Trade Center. The brothers had been living and working in New York for some time. This is something like... I hadn't even thought about the fact there were probably siblings.
Multiple members of families. Yeah.
And I think we have now seen 2
just on
or
this
4
list,
siblings. Yeah.
Paul Gilby from Southend-on-Sea, a money trader with Eurobank, worked on the 84th floor of the South Tower. He and his wife had moved to the U.S. 8 years before the terrorist strike.
Ronald Lawrence Gilligan, 43, from Merseyside, is thought to have been behind his 103rd floor desk at Cantor Fitzgerald when disaster struck.
Robert Halligan, originally from Kent.
Nicholas John, a 33-year-old banker from Swansea, had been due to attend a meeting at the World Trade Center.
Christopher Jones.
Robin Blair Larkey, 48, from Surrey, worked for Cantor Fitzgerald. He left a wife and 3 young sons.
Stephen Lawn, 29, from Broadstairs, Kent, moved to New York 3 years prior to work as a money dealer. He was on the 91st floor of the South Tower. Parents John and Angela had just retired after running the family newsagents for 35 years.
Leon Lieber.
Michael William Lomax, 37, from Heaton Moor, Stockport, was working on the 93rd floor of the South Tower when it was hit by one of the planes.
Mark Ludvigsen was an employee of Cantor Fitzgerald.
Gavin McMahon, 35, from County Durham, was working as an insurance executive on the 99th floor of one of the World Trade Center towers.
Simon Percy Madison, 40, worked for Cantor Fitzgerald, lived with wife Maureen and 3 children in New Jersey, originally from Harlow, Essex.
Sorry. It's just when you start reading them all out, it's just...
Makes it real.
Yeah. Keith Roy Maynard.
Colin MacArthur, 52, from Scotland, was vice president of insurance company Aon Inc.
Christina Sheila McNulty.
John Moran.
Stephen Philip Morris, 31, whose parents live in Nant Glen near Denby and Clwyd. He worked for a finance company in the World Trade Center.
Alex Napier.
Marcus Neblett.
Christopher Newton Carter, 52, from London, was an associate director for banker Sanley O'Neill. He was 6 floors from the top when the second plane plunged into his building.
This is just, like, awful.
That's something I don't really recall why so many people weren't able to get out of the second building in time. I guess they just didn't think there was a second one.
Yeah, they probably
That's what it was.
had no clue that there was anything else going to happen. And also I mean, I don't know how many floors there were, but I mean, it was over 100. So the amount of time it would take for literally everyone in the building to get out would have taken a long time. Like,
yeah, that's true.
especially in a panic state.
We just
where
learned it was
everyone's-
like 17,400 people in these
Yeah.
buildings.
Avnish Raman Patel worked on the 93rd floor of the North Tower of the World Trade Center as a financial analyst with Fred Alger Management. Mr. Patel, a single 28-year-old whose parents live in Clapham, South London, had lived in the U.S. since he was 13.
Hashmukh Parmar.
David Allen James Rathke, 47, from Maidenhead, Berks, was working on the 83rd floor of the North Tower. The father of 3 was a systems consultant who was married to an American and had lived in the country for 20 years.
Sarah Ann Rediver, 35, from Enfield, North London, was working for Risk Waters on the 106th floor of the North Tower when the first jet struck.
Rick Rescorla, 62, born in Hale, Cornwall, was vice president for security for Morgan Stanley Dean Witter. He was helping his colleagues flee the World Trade Center South Tower.
Carly Rogers, 25, a Sussex University graduate from London, worked for Risk Waters Publishers.
Howard Selwyn, 47, from Leeds, was told to evacuate the South Tower while on the phone to a colleague at his desk on the 84th floor.
Jane Simpkin.
Michael Stewart, 42, a banker from Belfast.
Derek Sword, 29, from Dundee, was working for American finance firm Keith Brett and Woods when the second jet went into the South Tower.
Rondell Tankard.
Ian Clive Thompson, 43, was born in Hampshire.
Nigel Bruce Thompson, 30, from Sheffield, was working on the 105th floor of the Twin Towers for brokers Cantor Fitzgerald.
Simon James Turner, 39, was among 7 other British employees working at the Technology Conference in the Quarter Mile High building.
Benjamin James Walker, 41, was on the 91st floor of the North Tower working for Marsh McLennan Insurance Brokers. He had moved to New York 5 years ago from Leighton Buzzard, Bedfordshire. He left an American wife, Laura, and 3 children.
Dina Webster, 50, was attending a conference on the 109th floor of the South Tower. She and fellow victim Neil Cudmore worked in the advertising department of a financial journal.
Vincent Wells, 22, from Ilford, Essex, worked for Cantor Fitzgerald.
Catherine Wolfe.
Martin Wortley, 29, from Woolpit, Suffolk, was working as a dealer with Cantor Fitzgerald.
Neil Robin Wright, 30, an options broker from Tilbury, Essex, was also in the offices of Cantor Fitzgerald when the building was struck.
And that concludes the UK... Was it UK citizens?
UK citizens, yeah.
And then now we're going to read the foreign nationals with close UK ties. I'm assuming like family members or...
Yeah. Carol Blake.
Bettina Brown.
Saudin Chowdhury.
Richard Kudina, 46, originally from Swanage in Devon, who was a bond broker with Cantor Fitzgerald.
Kieran Gorman, 35, was a laborer.
Walid Iskandar.
Yvonne Kennedy.
Bohan Kostic.
John Lozowski.
Israel Pabon.
Edward Saya, 49, whose brother Art is from Camberley, Surrey.
Joyce Smith, 55, worked for Cantor Fitzgerald. Her brother Roy Hudson is from Siston, Leicestershire. Is that short for Leicestershire?
Vladimir Tomsevek.
Jonathan Uman, 33, worked for Cantor Fitzgerald.
James Walsh, 37, originally from Nottingham, worked for Cantor Fitzgerald.
Maudlin White.
Wow. I've seen names of victims, just in random videos on plaques, whatever, and but I've never actually sat down and read a little bit about who they were until now.
Yeah.
And it just really puts a name, puts a story to the victims themselves.
Yeah. All these people had families, lives, dreams they were looking forward to, and it just was ended.
And the crazy...
A single moment.
It's just so mind-boggling to me. Like, I think of, so many of these were, in their 20s and 30s even. Think about it. It's just mind-boggling to me. Jeffrey Thomas Campbell would be 55 years old right now.
A lot of them had their whole lives ahead of them.
Just imagine what they lost. Imagine what their families lost. Imagine what their kids lost. A 13-day-old 13-day-old son.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, it's not just the victims, it's the families of the victims. The wife that had to find out that her husband, that they just had a son 13 days earlier, died in this way.
Senselessly, for no reason. To be honest, I don't even know where to go from here.
Yeah.
It's a very emotionally draining topic, but it's one that I feel like definitely needs to be remembered each year.
Yeah.
For the sake of not forgetting and not forgetting specifically these people who died.
Yeah. And I think something doing this video has really refreshed in my mind is I always stop to think about 9/11 when it happens.
Right.
But I never put names to the victims. I never put stories to the victims. And I also never really look at it from the survivor's perspective. The people that are living, like that one woman who are living with the pain of what they're going through. And even though they shouldn't feel guilt, you know what happens in situations like that. For some reason, the human mind a lot of times makes you feel guilty that you survived and all your other colleagues or family or whatever didn't.
Right.
And
I won't say I never looked into, especially like after it happened.
well, after it happened, yes.
You know,
yes.
But to see, especially this many years on, to remember in this way and to see these names laid out as individuals and as human beings and their individual lives, it just really makes the experience fresh again and makes it hard to process.
Yeah. And you know, something else this made me think about, when you think about 9/11, when you're remembering it, your mind goes to those towers. You don't think about the 200 and some people that died on the planes. You don't think of the people in the Pentagon usually. Even though like you understand that's what happened, but like you can't help but you think of the World Trade Center towers because that was the focal point of it all. And that's where the majority of victims were from. So anyways, guys, this is obviously a pretty heavy topic. And, you know, we always like to kind of remember 9/11 on this day. But we just felt like, you know, coming at it from a perspective we've never looked at it before.
Yeah.
You know, so that's why we chose to focus on the British perspective this time, because I've never seen anyone really focus on it from that perspective. Granted, I'm sure you guys in the UK have focused on that more, and that makes sense. But I thought it was about time to kind of learn a little bit about the victims and the survivors that are from Britain. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for stopping by. Please click that like button. Feel free to drop your comments or suggestions about this video or others. And don't forget to subscribe to continue to follow us on our journey. Until next time, guys. Peace.